drinking from the devil's cup. Take that pill, drink it down. Flashing lights all around. High as hell, drunk like I finally don't give a fuck. 'Cause I'm breaking all the rules tonight. Not going down without a fight. As long as I'm still breathing, doesn't matter how hard you might try. We can't take this freedom. Waking up, I'm a mess, sleeping on the bathroom.
Hey, this is Overpass Live. My name is Eric and I make apps. So the live stream we do once a week so we can answer some questions, look at each other's apps, have a nice little chat, and we try to keep this down to less than an hour. But sometimes, last week it was like 2 hours. I think hour and a half is very common, but today let's try to keep it a little bit shorter. Hey everybody, I'm glad everybody made it. Now first let me start off by saying that next week I'm not going to do a live stream. I'm going to have to skip next week because I'm going to be on holiday. I'm going to be visiting Germany, or my sister moved out to Germany, so I'm going to go out there to visit her. So I'm going to try to do some videos from Germany, but you won't see them for another week because I'm a bit ahead on the videos. So yeah, but just so you know, there'll be no live stream next week. So hello everybody. Hey, Rodrigo's the first one here. No Name Land, how's it going? Azimuth, how's it going? Hussein, go cuz. Hey, from Turkey, hey, how's it going? Marwin's here. Mega Man, Rohit just got here. Hype, Rodrigo says hype, and title is wrong. Oh, title is wrong reminder. Yes, thank you very much. You know what? One of these days, I think you can see I add this to a list of stuff I need to change. It's the 19th. Yes, it is the 19th. Naji, hey, how's it going? So, hey, Borg. Is it Borg? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So yeah, this week has been a busy week. I actually had one of these weeks where I felt like my phone was ringing off the hook. So I had like a bunch of meetings, and I got all these projects that are going on at the same time. We're quoting for stuff. We've got lots of stuff going on, and it was, I think it was on Wednesday, I felt like it was just constantly, the phone would ring, I'd hang up, and then the phone would ring again for another client, and then I had clients calling up that I hadn't spoken to in months, calling up for asking for changes to stuff, and it was just like, man, it was hectic week. But sometimes it's kind of fun. Sometimes it's fun when things are just moving like that, and sometimes it just really wears you down. But I do find if I don't have a lot of work going on, and I can get very lethargic, and you just sit here and you just like you just feel I'll watch some YouTube or I'll do something like that. So sometimes it's good to have all that stuff moving. And then yesterday I went to YouTube in London because it was like this YouTube event for I think it was people with over 10,000 subscribers. I think that was a limit, and it was like called YouTube Recharge. It was all about like mindfulness and meditation and stuff like that for YouTube creators. It was actually really interesting, and but I started talking to people, and everybody I met had ridiculous amounts of subscribers on their channels. Not that it matters. I mean, everybody says the subscribers don't matter, but that's kind of the thing that we ask each other when we talk to each other. So I said, I have 14, and I was talking to this young lady who she 48,000. Another guy had 1.6 million. And you think, man, I feel like I'm really like I joined a new school. I feel like the little kid who just joined a new school, and everybody else is so much bigger. But it was fun. It was kind of fun to do that yesterday. Let's see. Sophia, ready for 501 tomorrow? Yes, 501 is already published. I mean, it's not already published. It's already uploaded. So right now I'm working on 505. So it's that's the one I did today. So yeah, so I'm a few days ahead, Sophia. But yeah, 501 tomorrow. I'll give you a preview of what it is. It is what is it? It's let me just check real quick. Tomorrow is going to be about Oh yeah, somebody asked if they should put their face in their videos. So we talked about that, whether or not it really helps. I think it was John Dupuy who's he was saying that when he puts his face on his YouTube videos, he gets more views than if he doesn't. So I was talking a little bit about that and how difficult it is. And that's another thing about the YouTube thing. I was yesterday. I mean, I remember the first one of these events I went to. We start talking to other people, and some people, like, there's a common theme. Like, a lot of people, they talk about how long it took to get up the courage to go in front of the camera and how awkward they felt for the first several times. And it's sort of like a constant. And some people still haven't got there. They still do a lot of, you know, screen sharing type of stuff, and they don't really go in front of the camera, which is cool. But it was an interesting topic, I thought. Naji says, by the way, Eric, what do you think about buying installs and reviews? I'm afraid ASO won't bring in enough traffic. Well, buying installs, I don't mind, because that's what advertising is. You pay per click, and then when they talk about purchasing installs, that's what they say. It's not like, you know, if it would be ridiculous to buy people to buy installs that are not actual people. So like, if you're going to spend the money on buying installs, you might as well do the advertisements and get them to install it. Now, buying reviews, that could get you banned from Google Play. However, I don't think I've ever heard of that happening to anybody. It's something I've never done, but but I know other people who have, and they talk about black hat ASO and stuff like that. And I just never have. I always think that at some point in the future, Naji, that like Google Play will really crack down on it, and then it'll find anybody who's ever used any of those services, and mine might be, you know, flagged. But you know, a couple of years ago, I remember reading an article about because I had like a bunch of Facebook likes, right, and we created another Facebook page, not the Overpass one, but another one, and it was getting lots of different Facebook likes, and I thought, I wonder where that's coming from. And sometimes they were like for an ad campaign, and it turns out, so like if you go through and you buy, say, 10,000 Facebook likes, those accounts that they set up, they will like other pages randomly just so that they look official. Because if they only liked one, like if everybody all liked the same one and that's the only thing they liked, or if they liked everything like consistently, then it would look suspicious. So they have to have these bots that will just like things at random. And it was actually really fascinating. How could they catch that? But I always think they will at some point. So so that's just me. No Name Land. Do you ever experience imposter syndrome? Anybody else experience? I experience it every day. I was talking to somebody about it last night, about imposter syndrome, and yeah, I definitely. I mean, dude, I turn on a camera every day and try to, you know, talk about the apps and stuff like that. And I think the more you do it, the better you feel about it. But yeah, I get imposter syndrome all the time. You know what? When people say I talk about the car too much, but it's just one of these ridiculous things where when I bought the car and I was driving, people would say stuff like, "Hey, nice car." Now I felt like I had to qualify it by saying something. Oh, I just got it, or it's, you know, it's a rent. It's like it's not a rental, but it's on payments or whatever, you know. So, or it's leased. Well, it's not leased, it's PCP, which means I'm paying for it over time, whatever. So, but yeah, that's definitely the case, and I think that's I think the imposter syndrome is one of the things that hold us back the most. It stops me from making the calls that I need to make. Sometimes when you're working on something, you just kind of give up because you think, who am I to be doing this? Or, you know, I'm just a big fraud, and if everybody else could find it, then if everyone could figure it out, if everyone could see what a fraud I am, then they would, you know, they would really not respect me. And you know what the funny thing is like so as a software developer, that was fine, you know, because I was working jobs, and you know, they tell you what to do, you do it, and you just try to get up there. And then when I got proficient in code and everything like that, when I would go and try to set up my own company and would go meet with clients, that's when it really set in. That's when I would go meet with clients, and I would be afraid that they would find out that I was not a businessman, that maybe I didn't know how to do the sale properly. Maybe I didn't know how to close. Maybe I didn't have the right presentation skills and everything. And eventually it dawned on me that they weren't looking for a salesperson or a business person. What they were looking for is a software developer. And the business, like, that was my own lack and insecurity. What they were looking for, I had. but it was the other parts. So I'm thinking, oh yeah, but I don't have this, I don't have this, or maybe my suit's a little, you know, doesn't fit me as well anymore, or maybe, you know, maybe I'm not, maybe my handshake is not firm enough, and all these things would go through my head. So, but yeah, imposter syndrome is a big part, and I think it's one of the things that affects all of us. It stops us from doing all kinds of things. You know, it's and it's not just that, and it's also just telling people. So like, let's say you tell somebody, I'm going to go. Let's say you tell somebody I'm gonna create an app and I want to become a full-time app developer. As you're doing it, even if you're starting to make a little bit of money from it, which, like, if you're getting paid for your app, then it's professional, it's working. You just need to find how to scale it up, right? But you still feel like an imposter because you're not King or Snapchat or whatever. So I get that a lot. So have we lost internet? I hope we haven't. Let's see. What if Fredo Corleone says, can you be a successful app developer career? All you need is apps that have failed. So it depends on what you mean by, I see Rodrigo says, it depends on what you mean by failed. I mean, one of the things that, if you're doing an app, and this is another one I want to talk about in an upcoming video, because I think it was, maybe you, Fredo, was it somebody saying, it seems like most people are talking about clients and not talking about making money from their own apps, which is a really good point. I wanted to talk about that a little bit on an upcoming video because it's true. But I think what you're doing when you're doing your app stores, you're building these applications, and my whole thing was I wanted a whole portfolio of them, so just continue just to churn them out. Well, Apple had different ideas about that. So the more apps that I released, the more they started saying, well, reject. You need to combine all of these in a container app. And even when I released one that was completely different than anything else, right? It was completely new code, new everything. They said, nope, 4.3. They rejected it, and I remember asking, this is completely different. And then when they reviewed it again, they said, okay, yeah, we'll let this one go, but all these other ones need to be a container app. And it was like a blanket thing on my account. So it got into my head that they're not going to reward being prolific in app development, which is so you have these skills that you've built up, and what are you going to do with it? You could just maintain your application, but what I think is you might as well use that to work for other people while you're building up that app income. So as long as it doesn't become the goal of everything to work with clients. So if you say, can you be an app developer if your apps have failed? And that depends on what you mean by failed. You mean like nobody's downloaded them, or they actually crash on the device? I think if nobody's downloaded them, then you are a successful app developer, but you're a really bad app marketer. That's what I would say. It's not like you put an app out there and everybody looked at it and go, oh, it's a stupid idea, I don't want to download it. It's like, the reality is that nobody knows it even exists. Nobody even, they haven't found it, they're not looking for it. You're not thinking, you may not have figured out how they're going to find your application. You're hoping that maybe Apple or Google will feature it, which is very rare. And you don't have the marketing budget to put ads out there. Now that does not make you a failed app developer, or that doesn't mean the app has failed. That means you have a marketing issue. And if you're going to work for somebody as an app developer, and their whole criteria is whether or not your skills as a developer, but your skills as the marketer, then that's not what an app developer is. I mean, if I can hire an app developer, and I don't expect him to know how to do proper screenshots for Google Play or how to do keyword research or anything like that, because that's not development. That's the marketing side of things. So I hope that makes sense. I don't know. It's just good. Let's see. Uju Kumar says, "Hi Eric, I'm a beginner and Android developer. Tell the best site." I think you should probably, let's see, I'm trying to think of the best one. I think Coding School, I heard a lot of them, but it's been so long since I've done it. I actually got a book on Android development when I started, and they're all kind of the same. I mean, we're getting to the point now where you have so many free resources that it must be hard for the computer books to sell. I mean, you don't even see the computer book sections anymore in bookshops. I mean, hardly, because the technology moves so fast. For example, I was looking for a book on Flutter, and there wasn't one out yet. I mean, there's a few video courses. There's stuff on Udemy. There's stuff like some video courses on Pact, but there were no books on Amazon. It's just like it's just not there yet. But I'm sure pretty soon it will be. And of course, if you come out with a book on Ionic 3, Ionic 4 will come out as soon as it's published. You know, all that kind of stuff. So that's always moving, and you also have to make that as a consumer think, can I just find this on YouTube or some other source, or do I have to go and buy this book? And I can remember buying books that were like 50 pounds, 50 in currency, not heavy, and that was, you know, that was just kind of the cost of it. I remember I was working at an investment bank, and they sent me on a 1-week Java course, and I think it cost like 2,000 pounds or something, and it was, I remember thinking, you could have got me a book that would give me 10 times more information, and I would have devoured it, and it would have cost a lot less. But you know, some people just learn better with courses. Let's see. Abdo Hamdi, hey, how's it going? If I set the eCPM in Facebook account and set it in mediation, what eCPM is more effect? I imagine it would be the one in the Facebook account, but I imagine it'd be which one's higher, right? It would be the one in mediation would be just a filter. So if it goes through there and then it goes to Facebook, and Facebook says it's higher, then yeah, it's the one. It's almost like you have like a filter over a filter, and it depends on which one is a higher, if that makes sense. Carol VDW says, hey Eric, how do you deal with stickler behavior? I just caught myself wasting 20 minutes regrouping my getters and setters to my liking, even though it has no influence on my code logic. You know what? You're going to appreciate that later on when you go through and look at your code. I mean, any of us can write spaghetti code, and we can get lazy when it comes to the formatting, but it always helps with the readability of the code. I remember talking to a developer once. It was just a long time ago. I mean, this is like ASP, classic ASP, VB script, and there was this article that came out that said that escaping into HTML from the code was not quite as fast as just doing response.write, or it would be like echo or printline or whatever. So there's one developer on our team. He would just do everything in response.write. So it was all just lines in code. There was no markup or anything, and it was almost impossible to read. It was like, and it was just a marginal little. I mean, nobody. It was like fractions of a second difference it made, and the code. It took longer to read the code and figure out what it was because of that. And we talk about that stickler. Like you might. Let's say you, in your head, you might think that you're the only one who's going to work on this code, right? I've got projects like this. I'm the only one that will ever work on this. It's fine. And then you end up with a situation where you can't give it to anybody else because it requires too much explanation, or it's not really done very well, or even this, the little bit of formatting. And it's like, if you can look at it and figure it out right away, then that's better. It's like having, a lot of times your code is like having, it's like reading text. Like if you have lots of little paragraphs, you can just read through it really fast. But if you have like one big paragraph and you're just like, you keep losing your place, all this kind of stuff. And that's just the way I find it. Like I find, like, I hate, and this is something that I know is a common thing, I hate declaring multiple variables on the same line. There's something I just don't like about it. I don't like, if I say var x comma y comma z, whatever, I want to have separate lines, and I don't care if it takes up 5 lines of code or whatever. It's easier for me to read, and the prefixes, all that stuff. So I think that's perfectly normal. I mean, if you have the time to do it, and you should have the time to do it, and even just doing that, it's like you're establishing new things going forward. A lot of people think that, some people think that doing clean code or even unit testing takes a lot of time for developers, and it does in the beginning, but then it becomes second nature, and that's just the way that you work. And I know, working with developers who, especially my younger days when I was really very sloppy, what my whole thing was, well, it works, what's the big deal, it works. and then you work with other developers and you see how rigid they are and how good their code is. And also the developers I work with, that's a big determining factor of whether or not I work with them again, is if when I take a look at their code and see how do the variables make sense, is it even just the spacing, just if it looks like a tidy, nice bit of code, then I like that a lot better. Shoaib Ali says, how to market the Android apps. There's loads of things to look at. So you could, if you have a budget, you could do, the whole thing with app marketing is you want to get it in front of people. And right now people are going into Google Play Store or the App Store and they're typing in, they're searching for things. And are they searching for an app that you have? And can you put those, the types of things that they would search for, can you put those in your description, and would they rank well? Now the app stores are getting hot, more and more congested all the time. There's so many apps in there, so it gets harder and harder all the time. So you have to think of more creative ways to do it. So even if we talk about the 3 different phases. First, they got to find you. They got to know you exist and find you. So they're typing something in search and then they find it. So if nobody even visits your page or they don't search for it, then that's problem number 1. If your page comes up, if your app comes up on a list of results in a search and the icon is ugly or the name is confusing or whatever, or it ranks too far down the list, then that's going to be another factor. Or if they're visiting the play page and they're not downloading, then why not? Maybe your screenshots are bad. Maybe your description is not so good. Maybe the testimonials are not enough. So I mean, it's such a loaded question how to market apps, and it's something we talk about all the time, and something we always think about. If you have a budget, I mean, then if you have a marketing budget, then it makes it easier, I think. But if you don't have it, you have to be more creative. Okay, Fredo Corleone says, failed is low downloads, poor growth, bad ideas, time lost, career wilderness. I'm a poor programmer when I look at other apps. Now, look, if your app is quality, and nobody's found it, if it's got poor growth, time lost, career wilderness, you still picked up the skills to do it, to code in it, and do that, and you can always improve it, and everything there. So let's see, what do I got here? Sorry, I lost my place. Naji says, Eric, how do you feel with the Google algorithm picking keywords randomly? Do you repeat keywords to make sure you will rank for it? Also, is it okay to contact you on Facebook for tips? We have a Facebook group. It's called Entrepreneurial Devs at the Overpass. So that's probably the best way. A lot of people will contact me on Facebook and ask questions, and it was, at first I would just answer them, but then it got so overwhelming that we just, so I say, let's talk about it at the live stream, because then it's public, everybody can learn from it, we don't have to talk about it. Everybody can share in it, everybody can contribute, rather than just me. It doesn't take any time out of my schedule with all the clients and everything and all that stuff. But we do have I could charge. So we do have a page where we can do some consultancy, some one-on-one consultancy. But I would say do it in a public place, right? Just because it's easier for you. It's free. You can do it on the live stream. You can do it on our Facebook group, and you just have to be willing to share with the other developers in the group, and then they'll be able to. If I don't know the answer, they'll probably will. So let's see. Shoaib. Oh, so and then we also said, how do Google algorithm picking keywords randomly? Do I repeat the keywords to make sure that I rank for it? No, I don't repeat the keywords. I've tried that. I've tried everything. I wrote a script. I wrote a script that would count the number of mentions a keyword has on the description, so that I could see if the top app in that description has more mentions of that keyword than mine. Of course, it doesn't work that way. It's all the other things. It's talk about the I think Ear Agent ranks number 2 for spy still, and it's only got it once in the description, and it's not even prominent. It's not in the title. It's not anywhere else, but it's been mentioned in the it's been mentioned in the reviews over and over and over again, and it's also been there's a lot of backlinks going to that page that mention that, so it's still there. Rodrigo says there's a book about Flutter coming. It's from a famous open source guy. Can't remember the name. Oh, okay. Oh, and there's a FlutterCon coming up in London. I need to get up to speed with that. Shoaib Ali says I need a cheap privacy policy for my Android app. Kindly let me know from where I can find. So there's one called Free Privacy Policy, Shoaib, and all you have to do is upload it to a website so that you have it. So I did that. I did that this week for a client. He didn't have a website up yet, but we had a domain, so it was like go to Free Privacy Policy Generator, something like that. There's a few of them, and then just go through and answer the questions, download the HTML, upload it to FTP it to a web server, and then use that on the Google Play page. And then also in the app. So, but yeah, there's loads of them out there. But you know what? This idiot right here, I paid £90 for 2 of them, one for website and one for apps, and it was exactly the same. You know, and I could have got the free one and not even had to worry about it. So, but yeah, I guess I should have researched a little bit more before I actually did it. So don't pay all that money like I did. Abdo Hamdi says, I am a good coding, but I am bad at color and design. Any tips? Yeah, join the club. There's I think it's this is why I got a designer, and this is I talk about the benefits of having a designer, somebody who's not an all-arounder, but they're really focused on just the design side of things, because they don't think about the limitations of the language, what's common use. They just think, do something that looks good and just iterate through that. And I think getting a designer really raised the level of our applications. And it wasn't like if you hire a developer, that might help too, but just like a designer, just like an icon. I mean, how many bad icons do you see on Google Play? I mean, some of them look really good, but some of them are just like clip art. They're just really, really bad, or like an emoji or something that's just not even like it's just sort of an open source thing and somebody went and found it, or it's got too much complexity in it and all that stuff. So having a designer who can go through and look at different icons and stuff and do that, and also that. So like I may have told you this before. I know I keep repeating myself, which was the topic of a video this week, where I was working at BBC as a contractor at BBC, and they said, well, we're gonna get our designer to do the layout, and you just do the back end. And I said, well, I don't really need a designer. I told them I didn't need a designer. I said, because I knew CSS really, really well, and I knew the layout, and I read Don't Make Me Think by God, I can't remember his name, but yeah. So I read all this, and the usability was something I really prided myself on, and just choosing the right kind of color scheme. So I told them no, and then they said yes, and she came back with, so the designer, she came back with something I would have never thought of. So I'm thinking in terms of divs and tables and all this kind of stuff. And she came back with this, like a round kind of, I can't even describe it because it was just so weird. It was like a round thing with a drop shadow and all this, and I had to look at that and go, okay, how do we slice this up so we could do this? This image goes into the background layer. How's it going to form with the pages, stuff like that? And I started looking at it from a technical point of view, which was much more fun, and not have to worry about the design side of things, because I know that the structure of HTML, and that was sort of leading me down a certain path in terms of how the app should look, or how the website should look, web application. So but I mean, I know you might not be able to afford to get a designer, but there's also stuff like, I know everyone talks about Fiverr. I've never had a job that I've liked on Fiverr. But I have gone to people on Upwork, and Upwork is okay, but it's really hard to find someone. Or you could just get better at it. This is something I keep thinking I should do. I should learn how to draw, and then I think, well, is it really worth the time to do? But maybe. Shoaib says, I'm afraid about copyrights for privacy policy and no name land, please advise. Okay. Let's see. Orion Core, hey, how's it going? I hate declaring multiple variables in single lines. I thought it was just me. No, yeah. there's certain things that I just cannot stand seeing in code. I mean, we talk about Carol VDW said that, like, you know, I hate seeing brackets that are not lined up properly, even though, like, I love using I don't even, is it C-based language? I don't even know the description for it, but the JavaScript, C#, Java languages with the curly brackets, the semicolons at the end, because it's consistent. I could go from one language to the other with just minimal difficulty. If I go to something like Rails or Ruby, Ruby on Rails, then you got a lot of it's dependent on the spacing. I think Python. I've never used Python. It's ridiculous that I've never used Python because seems to be gaining popularity. I mean, it's an old language, but it seems to be gaining in popularity now because of machine learning and everything. But I've never done anything in Python, but that's also syntactically different. In Lua, we use Lua, and that's like you have to, rather than end in a curly bracket, you got end if and stuff like that. It's really difficult. So sometimes, I just the look of the code is important to me. DS Bailey Freelancer, good day, Eric. Hey, good day. Jay Matthew, hey, how's it going? He says, oh, I lost it. Jay Matthew says, Eric, my friend and I are thinking about starting something like your daily videos with our own experience. Cool. What do you think about gaining views? Did you run ads on YouTube? So, oh no, I haven't, but just this week I started. It was last week. It was Rodrigo's idea. He said, you should run some ads. So I did. I didn't really see much I didn't see much come in from those ads, but I could run them outside of the US and the UK for like 1 cent a view or 1p a view. So I thought that was probably worth doing. So for £10 a day, I was getting 1,000 views. Yeah, £10 a day I was getting 1,000 views, which was good, but the subscribers weren't really climbing that much. And I've been thinking lately about whether or not to slow down and just, rather than do 7 days a week, maybe just do 3 days a week or something. But it's still fun to do. Like, I think it's just when I can't think of what to talk about next. That's mainly it. And I know sometimes people say you're not putting enough effort into this, and I think, well, I don't know if I have, I'm not doing it full time, so I don't know if I could, do stuff like tutorials where I have to research everything and get everything lined up properly, and you have the problems with the camera and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I highly, Jay, I think you should do it because there's certain things. It's like writing. Like I used to write on the blog all the time. I used to write on our blog all the time and on the Overpass blog, and we didn't really get any traffic. And then when we started doing the videos, we started getting a lot more. And there's one thing about if you do something like writing or do the videos, you're thinking about what you think about things all the time. Like if a client asks me, what do you think about this? And I already know the answer because I probably already talked about it once before. Or I'm just used to knowing where I stand. I mean, I could be wrong about certain things. But, it's, I mean, it's, like going off of Ionic and doing a video about that earlier this year was, we still do some stuff in it, but I hadn't really thought about it. And when I thought, you know what, we're not going to do Ionic anymore. And we do some stuff. We have legacy stuff, and we do have one new Ionic project, and we had another one that we may do in Ionic. It's just. But I think, Jay, if you do a video every day, which is it's not easy, but like do it once a week, or just do it. Get used to being in front of the camera. Get used to, looking at the camera and not at the screen. That kind of stuff. You'll get used to it, and you might stumble around a lot like I do. Let's see. Okay. True Dream. So did I miss something here? Okay. True Dream says, Eric, does sending notifications about game increase user retention? I have not done that. So, like when it comes to push notifications, I've only done it in client applications where and I think about this. I think about doing it for some of the apps, thinking we should just send push notifications. But I don't really. My whole thing is I don't think there's a compelling reason to ask for notification permissions given the nature of the apps that I have. Like if it was a chat app, then yeah, that would make sense. But And maybe that's not such an issue anymore because a lot of apps will do that. Can we send you notifications? You're like, no. For a camera app, I don't really need it, or for whatever. And but it is. Supposedly it does help, and I imagine if you were to send people push notifications, if you sent too many, they might uninstall the application. But you might also re-energize people who already have the app installed but just don't remember to use it. And I think it all depends on whether or not them using it will give you more revenue. So if it's a paid app, then I don't really see the point in doing it because they have it, they've already paid for it. There's no real reason to keep them into the app. But if they're showing ads, then it is important to get them back into the app every day. So let's see. All right. So yeah, I haven't used it. So oh, and Rodrigo says it doesn't really matter for him. Rohit says, "Hey Eric, I think you skipped over my question. Could you answer it, please?" Oh, sorry, Rohit. Where did I go? Let's go back up. Hey Eric, what do you think? Okay, sorry about that. I did miss it. Hey Eric, what do you think? A good app promotion platform and budget is especially when it's just starting up. I have heard some people saying that AdMob is the best. Some prefer Facebook. By the way, love your vids. Thanks, Rohit. So I think Facebook is the best, but it's expensive because everybody's using it. So for AdMob, you could do, like, I've done 2 cents per click ads, right? I think my eyes were open on the videos too. If you could do a video and do it as a pre-roll, you might be able to get 1 cent per view, especially outside the United States. You're going to pay more to advertise inside the United States or in the UK or wherever the eCPMs are higher, where there's more marketing going into. But there's a lot of locations, especially if you're going for just sheer numbers. You could just do locations where they have a lower eCPM, set your bid rate really low, and then just do that. So the reason I like AdMob is not because I think it's more effective, because then I hear stories about people who are people who ask me how to game AdMob so people can't find the fake clicks, and then I think, dude, I'm paying into that thing. But you could also do just really low click rate. And on Facebook, I was finding my cost to acquire a user was sometimes like a pound or £2 or a few dollars, and that just was too much considering my average revenue per user. So I hope that helps there, Rohit. Shivam, hey, how's it going? Just sent your request to join the Facebook group. Okay, I'll go through and accept that. I need to figure out how to just let people join it without all the accepting stuff. Shoaib says, how can we market on the app on social media? Which social media are best? How to avoid Google Plus spam filters? So which social media are the best? It depends on where your users are. So a lot of it. So let's say your app is. Okay, let's say we could do this a really spammy way. Let's say your app is similar to Crossy Road, right? Let's say your app is similar to Crossy Road, and what you could do is do search.twitter.com and just look for Crossy Road. Anybody who's commenting on it, anybody says they like it, those might be people you could say, hey, I've got this other app too you might like. Or you even be more subtle than that, or follow them, or join the conversation first rather than just, download my stuff. You could do that, or you can start putting out content that is similar to it. Like, so let's say you do let's say you do a blog post saying my favorite things about Crossy Roads and my app name, or something like that. So you're really starting to leverage their brand in yours. You can't use it in the app description or anything like that because that's copyright. But you can make just comparisons. So and a lot of websites and stuff do that. Or just even on Instagram, you putting stuff out there. Who would be interested? Who can you tag and that kind of stuff? And we do that a bit. So we do a lot with the with articles and blog posts and stuff. So I'm trying to think. And we even have like a spy newsletter, spy school newsletter that we have through the app and everything. Let's see. So sorry, I think I need to get a moderator. I need to have somebody come in here and help moderate this, so I don't keep stopping and reading. Let's see. Sean James Cameron, Diary of a UK Gardener, watching from my shed. That's awesome. I should do one from the shed. Although I'm not really a gardener and the tools are all rusty. Yeah, Sean, you would be disappointed. Shoaib says, I have a marketing budget, but what are the best paid marketing tools that I should use for my marketing app except Google AdWords? So there's lots of them out there that you can use. You could use, you could do YouTube ads. You could do Facebook ads. You could do LinkedIn ads. You could do, you could set up a landing page and have Facebook ads or all these other things go there and implant the Facebook pixel and the Google cookie, and you can even do a LinkedIn ones, and then you can start doing a lower cost per click campaign on those ones just using those targeted marketed. So it's called retargeting or remarketing. It's the same thing when you go and you go visit a website and then all of a sudden that starts to follow you around everywhere. You could do something like that. So that way, if somebody's expressed at least a little bit of an interest, you can have that follow them around. So if they don't do it the first time, they could do it again. But the advertising budget is really based on how much you're going to make per user. So there's no sense of having all this retargeting going if you're not going to make any money from it. Or you could just do like a full-on 3 or 4 day burst where you just try to get the rankings up, try to get the reviews in, and just really test it out like with a small budget to begin with. If it works, if you're getting if your click-through rate is really good and everything, you tweak it and everything. And when you get that going well, then you can really pour the money into it, and then hopefully that will just go up in the rankings, and watch it through App Annie. Try to see where your keywords are ranking for, and hopefully that will jump up there, and hopefully it will stay there. So getting more reviews, getting more downloads, getting the social proof that the app is worth it, so that when the Google algorithm is ranking it, then it shows up as relevant. Abdo Hamdi says, what is the best language for web app with Firebase? I don't know. Because with Firebase for a web app, you could do, you could use Firebase hosting, but it really could be anything. I've seen Angular Fire, and Angular is the one I see used most often. That's the one that I've used. So, and I'm not just because Angular Fire is such a huge tool, I would imagine that would be it. But there might be other ones out there. I'm not really sure, Abdo. Billy, hey everyone, hey Billy. True Dream says, Eric, how many user retention actually tell us what we should market that app? How do we get to know that it is good or bad? Please tell. So if your rankings are going, I mean, user retention is important for the app. So you want your user, if you're making money for the app through advertisements, and the more your users are in your application using it, then the more ads you can show them and the more money you make, which is obvious. But also it affects the Google algorithm, and nobody's exactly sure exactly how, but the people who keep your apps the longest, it shows Google that it's not just this thing that people are going to download and go, nope. So so the longer they keep it, it's better, so you have that retention. And how do you know if it's good or bad? I think it would be depending on the algorithm and whether or not it's downloading. Like I said, I have really bad user retention on Ear Agent, and it still ranks really well. So it's the thing that where I could sit there and say, oh, I really got to fix this, but I'm thinking, well, it's kind of, yeah, I can't. I'm trying to think of a way to do that, to keep people going back into it, to keep the app longer. But just the nature of it is, you know, it's the kind of thing people try, and then they think either they keep it or they get rid of it. Let's see. Sophia says, do you think that Apple is pushing against PWAs for obvious reasons? It's gaining a lot of traction though. I think Apple pushes against a lot of things. I think Apple is a company that says, I'm taking my ball and going home whenever it gets angry, because it has that kind of power, right? It's scary how the Android was an open operating system, and it still is, which is why you have all these other things. Although Google Play is a major factor in all that, right? And Google obviously does the Android stuff, but you could publish your app on other things besides that. On Apple, you have to go through the App Store, right? If Apple says no, then that's it. You know, they're taking their ball and going home. If they say iPads aren't going to support Flash, then you think, well, I guess that's that then. Or they say, you know, we're not going to support PWAs, or we could make Safari support this and that, but now we're not going to. Then that's just it, right? It's end of, right? They're not a very open company, at least not in my view. They do some really good, they do really good tools, right? I like my iPhone. I like the sleekness of the iPhone. I like all that stuff, but I would prefer to have an Android, and I'm just holding on to this one until I'll probably get a Google Pixel next. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I would think, what are the, and then she says, what are the limitations of PWAs? Do you know? I don't know, because it's changing all the time. It's, you know, this is the thing with, if you read about PWAs, they'll say, you know, it seems like we're getting closer to that all the time. Like, it just seems like it's just Safari. I mean, Google and Chrome are just full on board with it, and it's mainly the Safari thing. And they're adding things more and more all the time. And every time I read something on it, it's like, soon they will be supporting this. Soon they'll be doing that. And so I don't know. I should know the answer to that. Sorry about that, Sophia. Hassan Atia says, hey, bro. Oh, where'd it go? Hey, bro. Hope you're well. Yeah, you too, Hassan. Boris Van Leuven says, what is the name of your Facebook group? Okay, it's called Entrepreneurial Devs at the Overpass. Rolls right off the tongue, I know. Right? We're trying hard to think of a name. We set up the group, and then months went by because I was trying to think of a good name for it. We are going to call it Entrepreneurial Devs, and there were a lot of other groups out there called that, so we called it Entrepreneurial Devs at the Overpass. So that's there. Also, I'm just going to say this again. I said at the beginning, we're not doing a live stream next week. Next week I'm going to be traveling in Germany, going to Nuremberg on a family trip, so I will not be doing the live stream, but I'll still be doing the daily videos because I'm ahead a bit, and then I'll do some videos from Germany, but I won't be doing the live stream next week. So let's see. No Name Land says, I've had scenarios where Firebase says I have an ad click, but it does not show up on AdMob. Oh, really? See, I guess I have, well, that's interesting. I haven't looked at anything like that closely. That's a scary thing, isn't it? Unless, yeah, I mean, wonder which one's wrong. I wonder if Google would consider it an invalid click or something. Would they remove that? Well, No Name Land, I have no idea why that happened. To be honest with you, I've never looked at both numbers at the same time. I never thought to doubt them. I'm gonna have to have a look at that. So I just assume, you know, one or the other was fine. Let's see, Data Plus Code. Hey, has anybody had any success at building hyper casual games on the Play Store? It seems like there are indie devs getting huge downloads for these types of games at the moment. Hyper casual, that's like, well, I mean, what is hyper casual? Is that like Flappy Birds kind of thing, or is that that's a term? I'm pretty sure I've heard about that. I'm blanking on what that is though. It's just like really quick games you can play like standing in line, right? Karifa Abdullah Kumara says, what kind of language should beginners start, and also tools? So it depends on what you want to do. You could do, so we're doing app development. I still have a man crush on Flutter, so I haven't done a whole lot with it. I've done a bit. I'll come in on like a Saturday and I'll code a little bit on Flutter and try to learn it, but then I get in the week I just get into the grind of everything else, and I realize that my proficiency isn't there yet. But I like the idea of it, that doing cross-platform. The thing I loved about Ionic and Xamarin, although Xamarin was, yeah, the thing I loved about Ionic and Corona SDK and things like that, it was it compiled to both platforms at the same time. One source code, and you could do that. Now the thing I don't like about Ionic and mainly Ionic and React Native too, is that I end up getting in dependency hell all the time. It seems like every time I try to build something, I've got some dependencies wrong, or I got moving from one project to another, We got, I've got the wrong libraries installed. I'm switching between node versions here and there, having all kinds of issues there. And it just sometimes things just break very quickly there. And on the Flutter side, I haven't noticed that so much. Although I have noticed doing things on Flutter where all of a sudden the emulator would stop working, or we get some bug and I have to restart Android Studio and start it up again. So there's that. Also, but if your goal is to produce an application, I think, or to produce an application for passive income, I think it is whichever one you like the best. Whichever one, try out a few, do the Hello World programs, and which one do you think looks like it would be the most fun to work with. If you're looking for a job, then that's different. If you're thinking you want to be a professional app developer working for other people, then you kind of have to look at the job markets and see what's out there. Like, one of the reasons I think Flutter doesn't have a lot of developers there is because there's not companies looking for that. There's not everybody's on board there, and it's still kind of a cutting edge thing. So I hope that makes sense. Rick Calvert, hey Eric, hey, tapping away on the not so specific incremental game. Oh, tapping away on a not so epic incremental game. Enjoying your live feeds. Cool. So yeah, that's what it is. So social proof, baby. Shoaib Ali says, what are the factors that Google algorithm is using to rank apps? So we don't know specifically, but we do know that the title is important. We know that the big ones are title, the first few lines of the description, reviews are a big part of it, backlinks, they contribute to it, but nobody knows specifically how well it does, and then the number of downloads you have. So really the algorithm is not, what it's there to do is, let's say you've got your brand new Android phone, you go onto the Play Store and you want to download some really cool games, so you type in whatever, some game or some name or some description. They want to give you the best app they can, so you have the best user experience on your new Android phone. So they're gonna serve up an app that has lots of good reviews, lots of good retention, lots of good it's relevant in terms of what it's about, the metadata and the keywords, and so much and stuff like that. So when we talk about stuff like the icon and the screenshots, those aren't so much important to Google, but they're important to the users. So the users will click on it, and that gets the social proof that they could see that it's showing up in the in the list. And if people are clicking on it, then it will start to give it a little bit more proof. I mean, it works. YouTube works very much similar way, I think, where there's constantly these machine learning algorithms in the background that are doing that. But and I think we're going to get to the point. I think we'll get to the point soon where, with machine learning, and I don't know if Google Play using machine learning algorithm, but I assume they are. We may get to the point where nobody knows what it's doing anymore. It's just working away. So let's see. Rodrigo says he uses Twitter PWA on Android and it works just fine. I do think PWAs are going to be more. I think they're going to. I guess PWAs, progressive web apps, are either going to be the next big thing or they're going to be the mini discs of our technology, right? They're going to be the thing that was supposed to take over and never did. So it's hard to know, and I think that's one of the things with PWAs why I haven't invested a whole lot of time in it, is because I don't think it's got the public on board yet. I don't think it's gotten mass. I don't think enough people know what it is. I mean, if I'm talking to a client and said, we could do a progressive web app, their first thought is, what are the downsides of this? How is it going to, why can't we just have a normal app? So you're thinking about the whole, different way of doing things. So, but I do think it'll be important. I think it'll be good, and I think it might even be better than apps because it's lighter. You're not going through the Play Store, all this kind of stuff. But it's whether or not users adopt it. Like I said, it's like the mini disc or the laser disc or something that was supposed to be huge and people just didn't go for it. Shoaib says, how to increase clicks on the apps? I have approximately 50,000 impressions per day. Nice. I am sending $13 every day on Google AdWords, but my earnings are only $7 per day. Please advise. So you got 50,000 impressions at $7 a day. What is that? What is that eCPM? So that would be 50,000. That's a really low. That's a really low rate, I guess. Yeah, Shoaib, I would look to see where you're. I would look at the RPMs on those different. I would look at the RPMs and where they're coming from, where has a higher one. And if you're spending if a lot of your ad revenue is going towards low cost countries where the RPMs are really low, then it's probably, you might want to look at just focusing on certain countries and doing it that way, and getting a little bit more scientific about it, and looking at specifically which countries are clicking on it, which countries are clicking on it, how much money you're making per country, and if you're making more per user from another country, then you might want to focus your ads there. Even though, because you're using the same mechanism to promote your app as you are to earn from it, Google's going to get their cut either way. So they're going to take their cut of the ad revenue going both ways. Let's see. Jay Matthew says, "What's your thoughts on Firebase versus AWS versus Azure for microservices?" So I did some looking at. I've been doing some looking at Google Cloud platforms this week, also looking at AWS, and I haven't looked at Azure, but I've looked at Azure in the past, and I think the thing I like about these are, because you also have like Heroku would be good for microservices. I like the fact you're not setting up a server. You don't have to go in and restart things. You're deploying straight to the cloud. So, and the thing about Firebase is it's really simple to get to, but it's also, and most of these are based on Node or JavaScript anyway. So that's cool. So they're, in some ways, they're very portable. So like if one of them started jacking up the rates, you can move it to something else. So that's become, I think JavaScript has become the big equalizer in that. And I love the fact that when I learned some new tools, like Google Script, for example, I love the fact that it's in JavaScript. I love that I only have to learn that one thing, and which is one of the reasons why I think maybe I don't want to learn Dart for Flutter, because JavaScript is becoming that language that runs everything, or maybe might get that way. Although it's not compiled, it's slower, all that stuff. So, but having looked at it, I think I like Firebase because it's got everything in the box. It's got you got the cloud functions, you got push notifications, analytics. Everything is in that one place. And like if we set up something for a client, I hate having to give too much information. Like say, okay, your analytics are over here. Your push notifications, you do that from over here, and stuff like that. And even if you look at something like Azure. Azure does all that stuff too. So you've got Notification Hub for push notifications, but it's like it's still like this other thing. It's not really that user friendly. I mean, I guess Firebase isn't that user friendly either. But I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, my preference, I still like Firebase. I still like the Google Cloud platform. But sometimes, like we have Google, I notice is a lot more expensive in terms of downloads. Like if you were downloading a lot of data from it, it could be a lot more expensive than if you went through AWS. So let's see. Let's see. Sean Cameron, Diary of a UK Gardener. What is the best way to increase YouTube subscribers? Well, Sean, I don't know the answer to that. We have 50. Like I said, yesterday I was at a YouTube event in London. It was really cool to get around other YouTube creators. It's funny because they all talk about the same thing. So, I find I need to get away from other YouTube creators so I talk to normal people. Because like a lot of the people, they hang around other YouTube people. And I was like, I don't know anybody who does YouTube. Like, it's just like nobody around me does. It's kind of this weird thing where you tell people, I got to go and, go for a drive and film a video. And they're like, oh, okay, whatever. Or like somebody... like you set up your camera. Every time you set up your camera in a public place, there's somebody will come walking their dog, and they always stop to watch you. Like you'd be talking, like I'll be talking to you, and it'll be like one guy standing in the corner, like just watching me, and I'm trying to just ignore him, but then eventually I was like, oh, what do you want? So some people, they just see you doing it and they just stop and do that. So it's kind of these weird things that I'm getting. So it's nice to meet other YouTubers and just to hear what they do. But they all of them, Sean, had like way more subscribers than I do. Like they were like, so like when I got to the YouTube thing, I thought, well, I'll just talk to some people. So I was talking to this young lady, and she's like saying, because she was like saying that she does like Primark videos and stuff like that. So lots of different types of stuff. And she doesn't do every day. She does a few times a week. And she only got like 49,000. And I thought, oh, I've got 14, right? And then other people are like, how many do you have? 1.6 million. And I thought, geez, I think I'm at the low end of the spectrum here. So my whole thing was, I thought if we just put out consistently, we'll get better at it. We'll start doing it. So I was doing it once a week, Sean. I was doing the videos once a week, and I was doing it every Friday, and they were not very polished, but I kind of prided myself on the fact that they were not very polished, and they were just sort of thrown together, because I thought, well, at least if they're no good, then I'll just say, well, I just only did like a little thing, which is just I'm embarrassed about it now. It was like, I felt like if they don't do well, then as long as I didn't look like I put too much effort into them, then that would be better. And it's embarrassing now, because I think, well, I should put a bit of effort into it. Like there's one thing I will never do. I will never do a video while I'm driving. I hate that. I'm so busy, so I thought I'll do this while I'm driving, just save a little bit of time on the way to work. It's like, no, just stop and talk. Stop and, give me your full attention. Right? Or just the whole, when people put stuff on YouTube, we're going off on a tangent, which is not answering your question, but when people still put stuff on YouTube and they're acting as if they're far too busy to be talking to you in the first place. And I hate that. I hate, I think if you're going to do it, do it. And if you're going to do it, get better at it. And that's one of the things we're trying to do. We're trying to get better at doing the videos. We're trying to streamline it a little bit better, coming up with topics a bit more in advance. So I have a Google Keep note, which every time I get an idea, I'll put it down on that, so that if I'm just can't think of anything to talk about, I have this list of stuff to do. Or if there's a really good question that comes in, I'll put it on there so that I could answer that. And then also looking for locations. Like, you wouldn't believe how often I'm looking for stuff, thinking, ooh, I could do it in front of this place. What's the light like? Is the wind too strong? All this kind of stuff. Because I like doing it outside sometimes, and for the longest time I wasn't doing that. But so anyway, so I was doing it. So Sean, I was doing it once a week, and then more and more people started to watch. And I started getting stage fright again, like even more than when I first started doing it. Because when I did the first few, nobody watched. And it was like, oh, that was like almost like a relief. Like, it's like I really wanted to do it, but I was afraid that I'd just be mocked by loads of people. But so then I started doing it, and then like not a lot of people watched, and I thought, okay, that's fine. I could just relax a little bit. And then as more people started to watch, I started getting nervous. And then the one I would do every Friday, sometimes it would slip to Saturday or Sunday, and sometimes I would spend the whole day doing it, because I would just keep re-recording it and say, oh, I messed up when I said that. I messed up when I did this. I said the wrong thing here, or the light was bad or whatever. And it was just this procrastination, this perfectionism that set in. So one of the things with doing it daily is I thought, I'll do daily, and then I'll only talk for 1 minute or 2 minutes, right? And or I won't even talk. I'll just do like a vlog thing. I'll take the camera with me places, and then I quickly found that it was just the same as it was like the same thing I was doing on a weekly basis, but talking for longer. So sometimes they're 20 minutes long, sometimes they're 3 minutes long, sometimes they're 2 minutes long, sometimes they're very quick, and sometimes the topics might be a little bit weak. But I thought if I did it more consistently, then we would get more viewers and more subscribers, and that's kind of where we're going with that. And like I said, but it was so humbling yesterday to talk to other people. Like, yeah, I got 1.6. Just did one video about this, and and everything just skyrocketed. And I thought, oh, I talk about apps. I talk about apps and app marketing. So, Sophia says. So I know that's not really good answer to the question, Sean, but hopefully that's okay. Sophia says, since Google is spearheading the PWA movement, it's quite promising. I agree. If Apple buckles and doesn't restrict hardware access, PWAs clearly be the no-brainer. I agree. I think Apple is they love to exert their authority on this kind of stuff. They really do. Let's see. Samantha Parser Nice Goswami. Hey, how's it going? Shawai says, "What's your Facebook ID? I would love to be your friend on Facebook." I think it's Eric. Really, I'm not really on Facebook that much. I mean, I do the Overpass page, but I'm not a big Facebook poster. I mean, you know what? It's hard. Even though I do it. Oh, Mega Man. Hey, thanks very much. Hey, Rifat, thank you very much. Sorry. I'm way behind on the questions. Sorry about that. I'm just rambling on. So, so you know what the reason I'm not good on Facebook? I don't post the videos to Facebook. I'll do it to the Overpass page, but I don't do it to my own page because I think about like the people in high school. The people you just kind of they send you a friend request. Say, yeah, sure, I'll do it, and then you look at it thinking, God, I haven't seen them in ages, and it's kind of this. They're not going to know anything about apps or anything like that, so I don't really do it. And it's also kind of the inferiority complex kicks in, right? You start thinking, oh, I don't know if I want them to see this. I don't want I could talk to you guys, but they're not going to understand that. So, which doesn't make any sense. I'd probably get more probably get more views if I would share that, more business, if I did that. But it's just one of those little things inside. Let's see. Mega Man says, "Hi Eric, what accounting software do you use to track your business cash flow?" I use Iris Open Books because that's what my accountant used. I wanted to move to something else, but Open Books seems to work pretty well. So we do the invoicing and everything through that. So that's and mainly it's just because my accountant has access to it. So it's nice to see where everything is. I know there's probably better ones out there. I've heard of Xero and you got the legacy ones like QuickBooks, but we just use Iris Open Books. So yeah, and just because the accountant does. So I do have an accountant that does the VAT and everything every few months. Does a VAT Moss, which is the VAT mini one-stop shop for the Google Play transactions. Orion Core says, "Please don't cut back. Show 3 to 3 days per week. How depressing." No, you know what? I think it was because that one comment this week, which I know I talked about it already. Talking about you've said this already. I think maybe I am doing it too much. Maybe I'm just but we can't talk about you can't talk about AdMob every day. So I could, but I can't show my screen. I could just do I would love to just be able to say, here's how I did on AdMob yesterday, and then we could all just share that information. But I'm not allowed to. So, but no, I appreciate that, Orion Core. Thank you very much. Alan Chan says, "Do you usually use Java code on your own interface only?" Do you usually use Java to code your own phone interface only? Do I use Java? No, I mean, it depends. Oh, 2D interface only. I use Java just in terms of the native applications, and we use the whatever the XML. It's not the nib, like the nib equivalent on Android, so the XML file for the markup on Android, which I hate using that. I prefer to use everything in code, but it is a lot faster to be able to do that. So is that what you meant? And if we do something like a game, we do Corona, which is a little bit faster. Although I should switch everything over to Unity at some point. But who has the time to do that? It's one of those things where it would be nice. It was almost like Carol VDW said earlier about formatting your code. I would feel so much more relaxed if all of our apps were in another language, but then it wouldn't even justify the cost of doing that work to move them over. It would just make me feel better. Let's see. No Name Less says, "What are your thoughts on Google going to charge for base apps, Maps, Google Play, Gmail in the EU?" I think I didn't even know that, actually. I should read the news more often. But you know what? It's got to be difficult for Google. I mean, poor old Google. God bless them. No, it's got to be difficult for them, especially with the EU and advertising and everything. Their GDPR and asking people if they want to have ads and everything. So they have to make money somehow. And it's, you know, these free things that we get, but they're not free. We pay for them with our attention and with our ads. And if we can't do that, then maybe they have to start charging for it. But I know that Gmail is popular because it's free. A lot of things are, they wouldn't last. I mean, if the reason people go to Gmail is because it's free. I mean, initially, or so if they started charging for it, they said, well, might as well go to something else. But but I think they've established themselves really well. That, I mean, I pay for Gmail. I pay for G Suite for the company, so I do that anyway. But it's different. I'm not like, when I was just starting out, I wouldn't have paid for it. I would look for the free alternative. Let's see. Data Plus Code says, as far as I can see, he is indie dev and not a studio. Oh, I have been following the Play Store charts. Examples of a game called Rise Up. He released 8 months ago, and I think he has 80 million downloads. Oh, Jesus, sounds good. Shoaib says, we are good app developers, but we need good marketing companies to promote our apps. Can you please advise some good app marketing companies? I'm not aware of any app marketing companies. I know there's Steve P. Young who does on App Masters, but I don't know if that's an app marketing company. I think Shoaib, do you want us? We can have a look at your app here if you want to tell us what it is. We can have a look here on screen. We haven't shown any apps here yet today. It's already been an hour and 10 minutes. Let's see. No Name Land says, okay. Rifat, thank you very much for the five quid. Also, Mega Man, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Sagar Pratap says, hey, Eric, what do you think who's doing better business, Rovio, King, or Tencent? Ooh, oh, sorry. The desk nearly fell down. I don't know. I'd imagine it'd be Tencent, right? But King, I remember when I first heard that King was making £1 million a day, and I thought, God, a day? Yeah, because I would never pay to like the little upgrades and stuff. I mean, that's just me, and I think it's probably a downside. Congrats on the big 500. Thank you very much, Eric Rocks. Thanks. So I think because I wouldn't pay for that, and it gets hard when you're monetizing something and you're trying to monetize something that you wouldn't necessarily pay for. You think, well, I don't know if I would go for that, but other people might, and that's really hard. So I was surprised when I found out how much they were making from that. But I do know how addictive it is, because I've seen people just obsessed with Candy Crush. So and that's the whole thing about consumable purchases, that purchasing coins, purchasing that kind of stuff, and that expires rather than a one-off non-managed or non-consumable purchase. Shoaib Ali says, which analytics tool is best for... Shoaib, you got a lot of questions. Which analytics tool is best for app analysis? I want to know user retention rates, which users are viewing my app to increase customer satisfaction. So, yeah, you got Firebase Analytics, you got Google Analytics, you got the analytics come in the Google Play console or the App Store console. You can't really find specific information on specific users because that violates those terms and conditions of those tools, but you can build your own if you wanted to on your back-end system to find out who is doing what so you can market to them better. Let's see. Does that answer the question? Let's see. Mariano Argañez says, question, have you ever secured Firebase collections with secure rules? Like match, whatever. Yeah. But I can't remember how it's done. That's the one thing I think about Firebase is really confusing. It's not, I'm sure it wouldn't be confusing if you figured it out, but it's not my strong point. So yeah. But yeah, I find that to be a bit more on the complicated side. It's easy to, I find security on SQL databases to be easier, but I think it's just because I've done that in the past. Yeah, but let's see. Where do we go? Oh. Okay, let's see. Jesse says, what are the most insightful book you have read this year or so far. Let's see. I read one a few weeks ago called Man Up. It's by Bedros Keuilian, who's I saw him on YouTube and he was talking about the book, and I thought that was really good. Some of it was kind of cheesy, but I just read that one a couple months ago, and I thought it was really good. Mainly because he talked about having a company that it looked like it was really successful to everybody else, but he was finding it difficult working with his employees and everything like that. And he realized it wasn't because they were all bad, but it was just bad leadership. And I thought that was something that really resonated well with me, because I think when it comes to leadership, I was in the Army. I took the leadership development course, primary leadership development course, PLDC. I've read so many books on leadership, but when it comes down to it, I lack a lot in that. I'm not as clear. I'm not as forceful. A lot of times I want to be liked and be the nice guy. And that was one that I thought was really good. I reread the E-Myth Revisited. I think that's the one probably in terms of business has the most effect on me. That's one I keep rereading again. I'm looking over at my bookshelf over there. I'm trying to think. This year, earlier this year I read, or at the end of last year I read .com Secrets, which I thought was very enlightening. And I was totally on board with doing all these kind of things, the landing pages and everything. And it is a really good book if you haven't read it. It's Russell Brunson. I think they give it away for free as a ClickFunnels thing. It's kind of, part of it's like an ad for ClickFunnels, but it was a very interesting, really good book, I thought. And it was just thinking about like the marketing and the funnels and everything. But once you read it, you can see everybody else doing the same thing. It seems like everyone is doing that same model. The webinar, the email funnel, the email chain, the saying this offer is only valid today, that kind of stuff. And it's really cheesy and camp, and it really puts me off. I'm trying to think what other one. I think those were it. I'm currently rereading or actually this audiobook. I'm thinking about whether I want to get the book. I'm re-listening to Extreme Ownership, which I think is, which I like. I like Extreme Ownership, the concepts and everything like that. But the audiobook is tough to listen to because they speak in their voices that we're Navy SEALs, right? And which I know it's kind of this is the way they sound like, but it's still kind of, but I think it's a really good book. Let's see, Rifat. Hey Rifat, how's it going? He says, Eric, I'm doing marketing as a contractor using Buffer and delegating the task. What are the other tools I can use for social media marketing? Buffer is good. You know what you should do, Rifat? You should make use the Buffer API, right, and just write a rebuffer script. So that's what I did. So when you add stuff to Buffer, and I haven't done it. Our buffer's been empty for a while because we removed a bunch of our apps. We had so much stuff in there that was related to apps that links no longer exist that I need to kick it off again. But so we would do that where we'd have 200 items in each bucket for the buffer, and we would run out. What I did was I wrote a Node.js script which will go through and take everything from there, from the history, and then rebuffer it and then shuffle it. So it was constantly going through, because especially with Twitter, you can't just tweet something one time and expect somebody to see it unless somebody goes and looks at your profile page, which is never going to happen. So you kind of got this fire hose of stuff coming through that you have to keep posting this stuff and redoing this content. So that was something I did. I wrote like a buffer script, and a lot of things you could do just in terms of you're writing your own code, because there's APIs available. I talked last week, I think, about how I did a script that would do Twitter search automatically, and it would send a link to people of some of the apps for a while. If they said they wanted to learn Mandarin or something, it would send a link to them, and that was working. That was working pretty well. Other marketing tools. Right now I'm looking at HubSpot for a lot of stuff, so doing that, and also look at remarketing campaigns. Look at whatever site or landing page you're using, you should have a Facebook pixel, the Google cookie, is it the Google remarketing cookie, and a LinkedIn one too. Just just in case you want to put it on LinkedIn. Although LinkedIn is really expensive to advertise on. You know, we've done some ads on LinkedIn, and it was like, whoa, I was getting like 14 pounds per click, and I thought, oh, that's not gonna last very long. Yeah, I mean, hopefully that helps. I mean, those are some of the things I did. There's so many tools out there. Let's see. Wordle says, is it okay to show rate on AdMob around 12%? Show rate equals impressions divided by requests. So that's the match rate, right? 12% seems really low. Let me just have a quick look at mine. So is that the that sounds really low to me. Let me know. What do you guys think? I think 12% is a very low show rate, match rate. Alan Chan says, I think he answered my question from before, but he did not really use Java codes except for some kind of other more easily made software interface codings. Yeah, it's I think when you talk about, yeah, do I use Java for the interface? We do sometimes. You add a button, hide a button, you know, programmatically add a button. But we also use the markup. More often than not, we use the markup for Android applications. Sagar says, now main question. I am 16 and I am making games in Unity. Cool. Unity, I think, is the way to go. Don't do Corona. I mean, Corona's good language, but I'm always afraid that they're going to disappear one day. I have a brilliant idea and a business plan that I need servers, few more computers, and a few programmers. What I basically am saying... Okay, so you need servers, a few more computers, and a few programmers. So, yeah, I mean, I'm assuming at 16 you don't really have a budget to do that. So there's a lot of free stuff out there that you can use in terms of servers. I mean, you can use Firebase and use a free tier. At least that gets you up. I mean, most servers have some sort of free tier. You use AWS free tier. In terms of hiring programmers and computers, yeah, I think you're gonna have to find some way to do that. I mean, it's you might be able to find someone to partner with you. I'm afraid we don't really do that, but you do that. Shoaib says, what do you think about cross-platform? I'm totally in favor of cross-platform. It seems like if you could do a consistent, good cross-platform application without any latency, without any kind of problems, where it's like there's not a reason not to do that. You should try to make things cross-platform as much as possible. And you can talk about, well, you talk about native is much faster than anything that's not native, but it depends on what you're doing. Like if you need something with a high frame rate, then yeah, you should probably go native. But most of the platforms, I mean, most of the other things are getting faster and faster. And when it comes to like Cordova-based applications, they use the web view, so even that's getting faster and faster. But you know, there's the issues here and there with, you know, dependencies and stuff. But yeah, I think, yeah, definitely go cross-platform if you can. And it depends on which tool. Like some cross-platform tools are just terrible, and some are really good. Sophia says, success and failure are our own, so let's not care what others think about us and what we do. YOLO, so stay loose. Thanks, Sophia. I'll stay loose. Jesse says, have you considered using BuildBox to create games? No, I have not. I have not even looked at it, or any other drag and drop game creators. We looked at EU screwing things up as usual. Yeah, they are. Yeah, this is it. The EU and all this stuff. I know it's for the users. It's almost like technology is moving so fast and it's getting creepy. So they're finding ways to invade our private space and everything. Like most people would agree that some of the stuff that they're getting the data on you is really creepy, and we would not want them to do that. But then they're trying to legislate things that are not based in technology. So now we got all these privacy policies and terms and conditions all over the place, and everything is cluttered up with this stuff. And I don't know if people living outside Europe see this stuff that I see, but it is, you know, kind of rubbish. So let's see. And have I used BuildBox? So we looked at Game Salad. So we looked at Game Salad for a while, which is which was kind of cool, the drag and drop game editor, but didn't do much with that. So yeah, So yeah, so that's where we are. So I guess I saw somebody outside. Let's see. How do I raise funds? Put your precious. Sorry, just a second. Let me just. Hey, you want to come in? So sorry about that. My son just showed up outside, but I have to give him the key. Let's see. How do I? Sagar says, how do I raise funds? And please put your precious views on this, and I will be super grateful if you give me some advice on how to start a company and what are the things you need to be taking care of. So raising funds, I've never actually raised funds for anything. I mean, I've never done a Kickstarter campaign. I've had clients who said, you know, they want to do like this big proposal and everything. So we go through, do that, and I go, okay, we're just doing a Kickstarter campaign. And as soon as that's approved, as soon as we can make the money from that, then we're ready to get started. I'm like, well, that's like, I've never had anybody come back after saying they're going to do a Kickstarter campaign. So I've never done that. I've never raised money like that. I've taken out loans and stuff, but I've never done anything like that. But I have invested in my own applications and my own stuff and saved up money so that we could do, so I'm working away at a job so I can save up money so I could build an application with my own funds. And that's a scary thing to do because you're thinking, if this doesn't work, it would have been much nicer to spend this on a new kitchen or something else. But you think, oh, we'll do this. So there's always something else you could be spending your money on. So it's really difficult. And the thing I don't like about Kickstarters, sorry, go off on this rant about Kickstarters. The thing I don't like about Kickstarters is I hear so many people talk about it as if it's free money. Like it takes all the risk away from them and puts it into somebody else. And I think, you know, for me, when I invest in something, I'm risking my own money in it. I'm spending money there. So let's see. No Name Land said, okay. Wordle says, my concern is, okay, so you guys are talking about the rate on the interstitials. Vitaly Serbin says, hi, I am new on your channel. Welcome. I am new on your channel and I have a question about your company. What kind of services does your company provide? Well, we do house painting. We do we do app development. So we do mobile application development. We do it for ourselves and our clients. So we do. That's it. I mean, it's pretty easy. If you look at our website, it's pretty easy to find that. So let's see. Jesse says, what tool do you wish existed that can help you with your business? What tool I wish it existed that would help me with my business? I think for me, a lot of times the tools are out there, but none of them are joined up together. So I got a tour of HubSpot this week. So HubSpot salespeople called up saying, you're using the free version of HubSpot CRM. Do you want to see what all the other versions do? So I got a 1-hour spiel, and it's really expensive, but I'm thinking, God, that would be really nice to have everything integrated together. One place where everything is. I'm tired of writing functions that glue things together or Zapier things that bring everything together. And just having like a really good CRM system. So I can go to one page and see everything about a client. And so it brings in everything. You know, when was the last time they were paid? Which was the last invoice they paid? Are they late on an invoice? What were the last support requests that they've had? You know, do they have an outstanding? Is there a quote sitting with them? When was the last time we looked at them? And some tools do that, but I would just like to have one which was just like one nice dashboard where we see everything about somebody. And I think it starts to get that way. And then I know there's all GDPR stuff there too. But I think that's it. I would like to see. I think it was really cool to be able to, when Google Play finally came out with the organic search results, so that you can see what people are actually searching on to find your applications. But I think that would be something that would be cool too. I would say that it would be nice if we had a keyword tool that was actually accurate. Like it was like Google will tell you how well it did, but then that would give away the algorithm. So most of the keyword tools you see out there they're scraping web pages and making assumptions based on that. So I guess that's all I get. I'm trying to think if it was another tool. I can't think of it. Yeah, Jesse, I'm gonna give that one some thought. Shoaib, what is your email ID? I'd really like to be able to in contact with you. So Shoaib, if you take a look at our website, there's a link address there. If you email in, it will go to Rowena on our team, and she'll forward it on to me. But it would be like, I can't it's just the time that I have in the day. I know I do live streams for an hour and a half, but like the week is just chock-a-block full, and I'm gonna be on holiday next week, so it's the kind of thing where in the past where I've had where I said I connected with people on Skype so they could ask a few questions, the questions become overwhelming, and it feels like it's a distraction from the day. But I don't mind doing the videos on it. I don't mind the Facebook group, anything where we could do, because if you ask in a public forum, then that's content, and that actually helps out, and we could do that. But if it's something where you want to talk one-on-one, we could send you a link where you could pay for like an hour of time. We could have a chat. But I think if you could just ask it in public, then it would be cheaper for you, and it'd probably be better all around. Joy IOI says, what tools do you use to manage your developers? So we use mostly Trello. We use Trello, and I've been through so many. We've used Active Collab, we used Basecamp, we've used Jira, we used is it Atlassian? No, that's Basecamp. No, that's Jira. There's another one we use, Asana. Yeah, I think we looked at Asana for a while. And there's all these other ones out there. No, there's so many project management tools out there that, in the end, I think Trello is just, it's free, or I do pay for Trello. I mean, it's like really cheap, and then just so you change the background colors and stuff. It's free. Everybody has it. You don't need to set up user accounts for everybody, and that's just it. But and then we also, for a while, we use Slack. Slack is actually the thing we use every day. Can't get by without Slack. We were using Skype to begin with, but Slack just seems to be a lot more. It's searchable. We upload big documents to it. If the other person's not online, they could just answer it later. And that's probably the tool that I would find it difficult to work without Slack. And then also they do it like because we can put things in there. Like we have certain channels that we use for like the daily summary. So every day the team will put their daily summary in the Slack channel, so that in the daily summary channel, so that we just keep track of everything. We have everything down. If it's ever like a Saturday and I'm like, where are we with this project? I shouldn't have to. Oh, I forgot to ask him when he was there. So I'll go to the daily summary. I can see that. So that's the best way forward. Mr. Neptune says, tell us about the loans you've taken out. So yeah, I don't know if I want to tell you this. So I'm thinking about taking out another one. So yeah, I've never taken out a loan for Overpass until earlier this year, and I did that thinking, it's just, I don't want to I don't want to overspend, but I also want to grow, and I think that's probably the thing that every entrepreneur goes through, because you need to scale up, right? You can't just, I could be looking at the money going out and just being really afraid of that, and then not focusing on how do I bring more money coming in. So that's what I did. So I finally got over that hurdle and took out a loan earlier this year, and I'm thinking about taking out another one, just a little bit more, so we can bring on some more people and do a little bit more there. But yeah, it's a scary thing, and I mean, it's not like we don't have the business. It's just, you think, what if that dries up? What if something goes wrong? And then I've got this loan to pay back. But so I went through Funding Circle here in the UK, which was actually pretty good. And but there's it seems like everybody's sending I seem like I get so many emails and letters from people saying take out a business loan, all this kind of stuff. I wonder what's going on at the moment. Maybe there's some sort of interest rates going up or something. Maybe something's coming up, but it seems like they've been more aggressive lately. Vitaly Serbin says, so basically you have some internal projects and some projects for external customers, right? Some internal projects, yes. Mostly at the moment it's mostly external customers, but we do a lot of internal projects too. It depends on what we're doing. Sometimes we have so much external work to do that we spend a lot of time doing that. But we also have our own applications. So to give you an idea of Vitaly, we do a lot on the YouTube videos. We do a lot on our own applications, making sure every review gets responded to, making sure we're looking at the keywords, making sure all that stuff doesn't fall over. But then we're doing a lot of the client stuff too. So we have the incoming project requests, which we have to give a ballpark for. We have to quote for other projects. We have other projects that are in development that we have to make sure that everybody's done. We have to, you know, there's so much going on that it can get a bit overwhelming sometimes. But yeah, that's basically it. Shubman Kumar says, I want to know what is the future of using BuildBox for game making. You know what? I've never used BuildBox. But I think the whole thing about these app developer software is that it's easy because you don't have to learn the code, but you also, I think in most cases, you don't own the code either. It's on their flat platform. So if you had a runaway hit, they still could take it away from you. Or maybe it depends on the contract, I suppose. Maybe they couldn't take it away from you, but they could shut it down. Let's see. Sagar says, how many employees you got in your company, Overpass Apps, and how much you pay them on average? I'm not going to answer that. And do you have a management team? No, it's very small. It is very. So I've got a team in the Philippines. I've got a team that I work with in Vietnam. I got several companies I work with in India. I've got one person here in the office. So it's a very small company, Sagar. So I hope you don't get the impression that it's big. It's not yet, but it's going to be big one day. One day I'll be at a 40-story building, Overpass headquarters, based in San Diego, and yeah, I'll be sitting at my big leather office chair, but not yet. Let's see. Travel and Music says, do you think new developers can make it in the Android domain now? Android apps domain now? Yes, I do. I mean, they do all the time, but I think it's a lot like it's like YouTube. I know I talk about YouTube, but I meet a lot of people who are trying to break into YouTube, and they're just saying it's too crowded now. But people are breaking through all the time, but it's just a lot more crowded. So you can't just show up and expect it to work. You have to figure some angle out. You have to figure some way. How are people going to? You put an app on the app market. How are people going to find it? Are they going to leave a good review? Are you responsive enough to all that stuff? I think it can. I think it can't be derivative of something else. It should be something unique. I mean, we talked about the copycat apps for some of my apps, and it's shameless the way they do it. But there's that kind of stuff out there all the time. The whole reskinning thing was very bad for apps. So Jesse says, do you use any influencers to promote your apps? No, I don't. I have a client that did that, and it worked really well, and I was really impressed with it, but I just haven't got about doing that yet. But yeah, no. Has anybody else use any influencers out there? You know, that'd be interesting to hear. Shoaib Ali says, which ad type is best for earning ad mob, banner, interstitials, or video ads? Interstitials, hands down. You'd think it'd be video ads. Video ads have a higher eCPM, but you can't show them all the time. And interstitials, you can show them more frequently. And banners you can show all the time, but it's very, very low. Very low revenue, and part of the reason is there's so much advertising space out there. So you know, everybody's got a banner on their apps, or lots of people do. So you could do like really cheap banner ads, which means that the developer gets a very low revenue from that. Let's see. Jesse says, have you considered putting your games up on Facebook Instant Games? Yeah, you know what? This is another part with doing it in Corona. Like, I thought about that. I thought about doing it as messenger games too, which would be cool. Which is it the same thing? But we didn't do them in JavaScript. If we did them in JavaScript and HTML, then it probably would have been, because I assume that's what you need. And they're done in Corona, which is limiting that way. Vitaly says, what do you think is better for starting external customers or own project? I think you should do, if you get external customers, it's a chicken and egg thing. If you get external customers, then you can you have revenue to do your own project. However, you don't have anything to show but if you do your own project, then you have something to show external customers as a portfolio piece, saying, yeah, we can do this. Here's something we've already done. So for me, so Vitaly, how was it in your case? So for me, I set up Overpass in 2004, and I thought I would, without looking for clients. So I was working a contract, and then when the contract finished, I thought, that's it, I'm going to do my client business. And this was like 2006, and I thought, I'm just going to go and get some clients, right? And then I felt it was much harder than I thought it would be, right? Even, and we talk about the imposter syndrome, even when I did get a meeting with a client, I was not sure I could do it. Like I was saying, we could outsource everything. We got, we get developers over here, but I wasn't even spending money doing it. It was really hard to justify in my own head thinking they should spend money doing something that theoretically should work, but I had not invested in it. It was different after we'd done the apps. After I'd done an app, I realized that, hey, I've invested in this. I've done this, right? I know it's possible, right? I feel better asking somebody else to spend money to do it because I've spent money to do it, right? It's not a completely foreign thing to me. Like a lot of times people, I used to work for companies. When I worked for smaller companies, I remember giving the owner like lots of advice. We should do this. We should do this. We should do this. And the owner's like, and I used to think, God, just because they don't have any vision, they should do something. But the reality is it was easy for me to say, and it was harder for them to do. Right, because they would be the one taking all the risk, and I would take no risk. If it failed, I would just go get another job, and they would be, right. So it was different after I did an app because I knew, like, it was something that I was familiar with. I wasn't asking them to do something I wasn't prepared to do myself, which is to spend a bit of money to get this thing made. It's the same with I think with ads. I talk about how if you take out ads, you understand the whole ad process better, not if you're just making money from ads. And I think a lot of it's a more holistic view of it. So especially when I'm talking to a client, I don't feel like an imposter anymore because I know this works because I've done it and we've done it and we've done all this stuff. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that answers it right. Let's see. Shoaib says, which cross-platform is best for Android apps in your experience? Well, if you talk about cross-platform and Android apps, Android is not cross-platform. So I'm thinking I'm assuming you're talking about Android and iPhone. So I'm not sure the answer to that one. No Name Last said, thanks, Eric. Enjoy the holiday. Thank you very much. Looking forward to it Monday. I'm gonna drive for go for a long drive. Shoaib Ali, do you ever think of the size of the app? Is it true that app size is less, the app grows faster? Yeah, you have to think about app size is the thing that's going to get your app taken off phones faster than anything else. And I've done a video about this years ago, but you have to make sure that, keep the size down. Like I've seen apps that are running like 100 megabytes and there was nothing to them because they had image assets that were far too large for it. So they would have PNGs where a JPEG would have been much smaller, or they would have really super high density images for something that didn't even require it. It's always, or they have WAV files instead of OGG files or MP3 or AAC files. So they would have these huge applications, and it didn't even need it. Let's see. Shimon Kumar says, please guide us in your fields of game development or make some separate video on that if you get time. Okay. Mr. Net2 says, what makes you different from other app developers? What makes Overpass different? I think about this a lot. In fact, it's one of the things that everybody has to answer. Even if you're going for a job, you have to say what makes you different than the other app developers. So we know the app market very well. We have a YouTube channel with, 14,000 subscribers, which is not a lot, presumably. But we produce hundreds of our own applications. We don't just make apps for others, we make apps for ourselves, so we know how it works. We have a perfect lab that we can test things on. So we don't just say, hey, you should do this. We can say, we've done this and this works, we've done that and it doesn't work. Right? We've had over 10 million downloads, I think, of our applications globally over the world. So it's something that we don't just think about the development side of things, although that's what we focus on. We're not an app marketing company. We are an app development company, but we do think about the marketing and how that's going to work going forward. So that's a lot of things I think that distinguishes us from other app developers. Other app development company. How does that sound? Hey, Mr. Nettune, let me know how that sounds, because that's my spiel. That's what I need to refine that a little bit more. But Sagar Tap says, I'm sure Overpass Apps is going to be big, and I will have a big company, revenue around $1 billion. Cool. Don't laugh. Maybe in your future we'll be doing business together. And brother, I am. That would be awesome. Yeah, very serious about starting a company. Yeah, start one. Definitely. Let's see. Which cross-platform is best for Android and iOS apps in your experience? I don't... Up until a couple weeks ago, I would have said React Native. But I think React Native is... I've had so much dependency issues with React Native this week. I mean, it just... There's so much. Flutter... Yeah, we talk about Flutter a lot. I think it'd be it. So... Sagar said... better than native platforms. I don't think any cross-platform is going to be better than native. I just don't think it is. So I mean, if you're looking for best performance, then you go for native, right? But if you're looking for more flexibility, then go for the cross-platform. And Sagar says he would have a bed in his office instead of a leather chair. Yeah, I mean, well, what kind of office that is. Although I've thought about getting like a little cot in here, especially when I get up really early and I'm working all day and I just want to have a little nap. But I think that was just too much to have a little bed in this office. Kais Amarat says, "What do you prefer, Android development or data science?" I love both. I don't know any data science. I wish I did. I mean, this I would love. I tell my kids this all the time. I think, you know, if the machine learning thing just seems to be like it's a game changer. It just seems like the kind of thing that even conceptually, that because when I start trying to learn it, I think I could do this, and then it gets really, really hard, really fast. We talk about really mathematical, you know, the science of it, and then it just really makes me feel stupid. And I think I don't want to be this dinosaur that everything I ever do is a database backend and a whatever, a GUI front end. I think I would like something that really just churns away and does really cool things. And but I haven't done anything with it. It's just been so busy that you know, I think. I think data science would lead more towards the AI and machine learning stuff that's coming up, and I think that's far more exciting, far more lucrative in the future. And I wish I could say I was part of that, but I am not. I look into that stuff and I think that's something we should do. How could we use that? How could we do that? But I haven't found a really good reason to do it yet. Jesse says, if you're moving to Unity and you're thinking of porting your games to the Nintendo Switch, I hear some indie success stories. I don't think my games are good enough for the Switch. I mean, there's language learning games. I'm not sure if they would, but it would be nice to have other ways to distribute them. So, Showwipe Ali says, how to test on hundreds of devices online. We are facing crashes in apps. Please advise. So there's one on AWS called Mobile Device Farm, I think. But I think it could be a bit expensive. But there used to be one called AppThwack. But I think they were bought by AWS or by Amazon. Let's see. Sagar says, actually, that wasn't a joke. I will work so hard that I'll save time by sleeping in the office. Oh, okay. Oh, cool. That's awesome. Great. For me, I get I get up early in the morning. I come into the office and I just work, and I work away. But it's different when it's your own office because it's almost like having another bedroom, except you have to drive a couple miles to get there. But let's see. And Jesse says, regarding machine learning, you can learn Weka, which is quite visual. I'll have to check that out. Cool. All right, everybody. I think we've answered all the questions. Sorry. Let's see. Everybody, thank you very much for joining us on the live stream today. We will not be on the live stream next week. Next week we'll be skipping, but we'll do it the following week. And thanks everyone. Once again, episode 500 today. Yes. Thanks everyone for tuning in today. Thanks everyone for watching for subscribing to the channel and everything. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow on the daily video, and I'll talk to you in 2 weeks' time on the next live stream. Okay. Talk to you guys later. Have a fantastic weekend.
it's all a